Interviewing the institution. It can't hurt to ask. Teacher edition. Put your institution and your leadership team in the hot seat. For your own personal and professional safety, security, and sanity, here is a series of questions to ask if you are a prospective, incoming, or returning teacher in a private school setting. Things to consider. Treat this as a behavioral interview and make sure they give specific examples. Not abstract hypotheticals, but concrete, specific examples. Beforehand, understand your self-worth, your goals, and your bandwidth well enough to walk away if you get insufficient answers. And if you don't hear anything about specific processes, policies, or practices, then consider the response performative, insincere, or duplicitous. Be strategic about when you ask these questions, how you ask these questions, and to whom you ask these questions. Now, if you want to check for an institution or a private school's openness to growth, here's a question you can ask. What are some strengths and areas of growth for your faculty and your leadership team, respectively? Make sure to draw that distinction. You want to hear about the faculty's strengths and weaknesses as well as the leadership team's strengths and weaknesses. If you notice that what they say doesn't align with your values, your practice, or your teaching philosophy, then that's a red flag. Now, if there's a sense of honesty, sincerity, and accountability around areas of growth and strengths, then obviously you can work with that. And keep in mind, there's no school that's perfect. Facts. If you notice that the examples they give include very, very shallow examples, then that's a red flag. Again, we're looking for honesty, people. We're looking for accountability. We're looking for transparency. What's great about this question is you can get different answers from different people, depending on the person's role, vantage point, their status, or their access points within the school. Again, ask as many people as possible, because if you don't ask the question, then you run the risk of having limited information. And the point of any interview is to get as much information as possible. Think and act like a researcher. Collect that data. Gather that data so when you go home, you can analyze that data to make the best decision possible. At the end of the day, it's about getting the most information, again, in order to make the most informed decision. And I repeat, you can ask this question as an incoming teacher or a returning teacher because hopefully at different stages of your career, you get different levels of depth and breadth, as well as you find different ways to ask the same question in order to solicit different information from different people. Now, if you get a chance to ask the young people, that means students, that'd be great too, because they can give you an honest point of view on what they think their teachers and faculty need to work on, as well as their leadership team. They're another point of information, another source of information if I'm thinking like a researcher. And again, make sure you get concrete examples. In order to do that, ask this follow-up question. What is the last tradition or policy that your school revised, added, or did away with in the spirit and practice of equity and inclusion? You're looking for recent changes because maybe those recent changes show growth as well as an institutional desire to self-reflect, self-evaluate, and to reiterate. Be mindful, though, that not all changes are progressive. Some can be regressive. Some can be downright oppressive and problematic. So make sure to ask for the rationale behind whatever change in tradition or policy. Now, by asking this question, you're not necessarily looking for perfection. You're looking for evolution, progression. So don't be afraid to ask them to own up to highlight, identify areas of strengths as well as weaknesses. Because then you can figure out how you fit, how you can contribute, and how the organization can give back to you and serve you as well, right? You have to think about it from a mutual fit point of view, right? Don't only think about what you can contribute. Also think about what you can gain from the school, because it needs to be a symbiotic relationship and there's a sense of synergy because you're contributing and it's investing in filling you up just as much as you're filling the institution up. So know your self-worth, because this question will help you understand what's the mutual investment. When you work at these schools, unfortunately, it feels very transactional. And at times it is. I'm not going to lie to you. However, you need to know that you're there for yourself and for the kids. All right? Because at the end of the day, the institution is going to stand. You do what you can. Know your end goal. Know your end game. Because otherwise, if you stay too long and you're not making progressions in your craft, in your practice, in your own teaching philosophy, then you're stagnant and then you become another cog in the machine. Don't get me wrong. You are there, again, for yourself and for the kids. Do what you can for your young people. Do what you can for your community. I don't mean this in a sense of pessimism. I mean this in terms of self-care and boundaries. Because sometimes the institution will take and take and take from you and consume and drain you. And at the end of the day, you need to take care of yourself in order to be the best self that you can for your young people. So by asking these questions around openness to growth, it'll help you set professional and personal boundaries with your institution. Therefore, the institution won't exploit you. Period. And this has been part 2 of the series, Interviewing the Institution. It can't hurt to ask. Teacher edition. And these are just my thoughts in black. Peace.